Welcome to my presentation. In this presentation, let us see how we can do addition of vectors, and we will also see how we can represent it in a graphical manner. So if u is a vector which has components u1 comma u2, and if we have another vector v, and if the components of that vector are v1 comma v2, then the addition of the vectors could be performed as follows. Vector u plus vector v, we can write this one as u1, they will first write the components down. u1 comma u2 are the components of vector u. Let me write this a bit more clear here, so that way we don't get confused. u1 comma u2 plus the components of v, vector v, are v1 comma v2, isn't it? And now we take the first component of the first vector and then add it to the first component of the second vector, u1 plus v1 comma, then we take the second component of the first vector, which is u2, and then add it to the second component of the second vector, which is v2. So u1 plus v1 comma u2 plus v2 is the sum of two vectors, and this is how we want to use the addition or the subtraction. Subtraction is very similar to this. Like, for example, if u and v are the same vectors, and if I have u minus v, like that, if I want to subtract v from vector u, and if the components of vector u are u1 comma u2, like that, and if I have components for vector v as v1 comma v2, like that, then we can do the subtraction of these vectors as follows. We take the first component of the first vector, subtract the first component of the second vector v1 comma, and then we take the second component of the first vector, which is u2, and then subtract the second component of the second vector, which is v2. So u1 minus v1 comma u2 minus v2. So this is the way we can do addition or subtraction of these vectors. Now let us see how we can represent this in a graphical manner. Okay, so let's say we have a graph sheet like this, and this is our origin here, this is our x-axis, this is our y-axis, and let's put some points in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we need more points, we'll come back and pick them up. And let us say we have a vector which is represented in this manner. Let us say this is vector u, which is starting from the origin and then going in this direction. Let's say that is 1 point, and if I were to draw a straight line here, and if I call this as vector u, and the components of vector u are u1 comma u2, and then let us say we have another vector, and let us say, and that vector is represented in this manner here. Let us say I have another vector here, and this is vector v, and the components of this vector are v1 comma v2. Okay, and now if I want to find the sum of these two vectors, the sum of these two vectors is going to be a vector which is going to be somewhere, draw something like that. I'll put another line here, and I'm going to draw that by a line like that, and then this is going to be a vector combination of vector u plus vector v, and the ordinates for those are u1 plus v1 comma u2 plus v2, and those are the components of the resultant vector. And I can join these ends by dotted line like that, join these by dotted lines like that, and therefore, as you can see, if I were to project this point onto the x-axis, this distance here is v1 for us, and then this distance here is u1 for us. And similarly here, if I were to project this point onto the axis here and just stretch it out a little bit, this distance here from here to here is u2 for us, and then this distance here from here to here is what is represented as v2. So that is how we can graphically represent sum of two vectors. Okay. In my next presentation, we shall see some more examples as to how to use the properties of vectors and simplify those example problems.